Hello, my name is Aiykiera Brown, and today I will be conducting my critical reflection for my Cambridge Media Studies 2-minute thriller opening. I conducted this project with two other group members, Jeremiah Oxes and Shauna Lawrenston. We took inspiration from many films, considering that we did a lot of research. I personally studied films, Gone Girl and Flatliners, while my fellow groupmate Jeremiah studied Run and The Woman in the Window, and Shona studied Get Out. We looked at the type of opening they used, how many shots they included, how long were the shots, and really what they decided to capture within their opening. I would like to start this reflection off by first going through the process of what I did. So let's start off with my basic research. My class first started off by jotting down the conventions of genres. I later went back and added on to my thriller convention notes just so I had something to refer back to. We then moved into studying the four key concepts: mise-en-scene, sound, editing, and cinematography. This process was, it was just a lot of studying, a lot of focus. We actually made a glossary of all the film terminology within the four key concepts that we are able to refer back to. We then began to study openings of all types of genres, just so that we can grasp what they were trying to do, what audience they were applying to. As you can see here, we were looking for the representation within the genre. And this portion is me just analyzing some editing software, preparing me for a project we're about to do. So I have mine listed from 3, what I wouldn't use, and to 1, what I would use. This process was, it was pretty easy. We had certain standards that we just wanted each application to meet, and if they did, great. If they didn't, then, we didn't go with the application. This music video project was conducted within, I want to say, a group of 3. Looking back on it now, it was actually pretty easy compared to my final project I had to do. In this project, I was actually introduced to scripting and storyboarding. Because I got to previously play around with the editing software, it wasn't any problem to edit the video. Filming also went really smoothly since it was conducted in school. So moving on to my pre-production research, again, if we go all the way to the bottom here, you have the films that we first took inspiration from, and then I conducted a case study on this thriller opening right here. I looked at the production company, what audience they were trying to appeal to, and the budget of the film, the convergence, and the synergy. After all of this research into thriller openings and conventions, we then moved on to actually beginning our project and starting with the script. In my group, I personally studied the Get Out script and the Wind River script. My fellow group members may have studied something different, but we did come together and share our findings to be able to all contribute into one script. The next thing that we did was more research. I, again, looked at the audience, the budget, the synergy, the distribution, the products of the film Nocturnal Animals, and The Little Things. We then began storyboarding. Again, I actually used an application called Studio Binders to conduct my storyboard and script, which allowed me to really, it allowed me the template of everything that I needed to make the project 100% easier. We really didn't encounter any problems with storyboarding and scripting, seeing as how we had that mini project right before. There wasn't anything troubling about it. It just really helped us visually capture what we wanted to see. So after we actually started scheduling our shooting with our production calendar, we estimated it would take us 4 days, and we did a strip board to decide what shots we wanted to do within those 4 days, if they had a common location or time, or if it was really quick to do, or it was going to take us a long time. And now we are moving on with the production aspect. So the first thing in production that we did was branding. We previously tried to use the application Blender. Unfortunately, it was a bit too advanced for my class. We did try to watch tutorials. It just wasn't working out for us. So my group decided to go with a more friendly application called CuteCut Pro. And that is how we created our branding opening. We tried to make it as conventional to color as possible with some blood underneath it and a very dark color palette. Next, we entered the filming aspect of my project. Filming went pretty smoothly. It was definitely easy. It was fun to do with my group members. We knew what we wanted since we had prepared the storyboard and the script. I think our biggest problem was that we kept forgetting to bring our items to shoot. And for example, we kept forgetting clothes to bring, which did push us a little bit back behind the 4-day layout. But all in all, it was okay since we had plenty of time within our 2-week period. And after production, we met on to post-production, which was a very hassling, lengthy process. At this point, we had to take a step back and revisit the basics, all of the previous openings we studied, and all of the conventional thriller, and then return back to our opening to look at what we can do better, what plot holes we were missing. So really, it was long. It was hard, and it was a bit frustrating. But when we did the reshoots, we continued to film with an iPhone 12. Our editing portion. We first tried to edit with the Adobe software. Unfortunately, this application was also too advanced. We had to give it up, and instead we used and paid for the full version of WeVideo. So that application was much more easier to use. And post-production, it was definitely a learning experience. I definitely grew trying to look back at the conventions that I did now and what I can improve on. So moving on from my process, I would like to start going over my my conventions that I use within my film. So basically, if we go back to the basic research that I have, you will find a list of most of the conventions that go into a thriller. I did a whole lot of research. I do want to demonstrate how my first editing came out. Some of them have completely different themes than others. Like we changed the coloring on this one. I don't think we even have these full shots anymore because we changed the location. There was a whole lot of sound going on, which again is not conventional to any of these aspects that are in here, even though we did try our best. Compared to our final version, it actually looks a whole lot better. It's a whole lot smoother, as you can see. Way less dialogue. Our credits within the film are more even and executed. Although jump cuts are conventional, we instead decided to add 2 transitions to convey passage of time. So dip to black in a ripple. And they were only used to convey the passage of time. The rest are mainly filled with jump cuts. Again, if I return back to my blog, silence and slow, eerie music is conventional, and that is exactly what we have here. There is no talking within the film at all. Lots of shadows, low-key lighting. We did go into some of the brighter clips that we had to film outside and lower the lighting to make it more of a dark color palette. To convey the meaning of the flashback, we did go in and add black and white coloring instead, since its convention is to bring back emotions of the past and whatnot, and so on. Our cinematography consisted of a lot of close-ups to capture the emotion on the face, and this particular shot reverse shot, we used close-ups to actually capture the tension within the two characters. Our clothing, or mise en scene, besides the lighting that we turned down, there are two characters within the scene, if it will allow me to play it. Our protagonist is wearing, brighter clothing. She's more airy or whatever, and our antagonist is, let me see if I can pull up the definition for you guys. Yeah, so our protagonist is wearing more of brighter clothing, definitely a blue sweater to try to make it seem like she's a, just a good overall person. Whereas our antagonist is in darker clothing, she's in a very dark color palette, and this was to help our representation of man versus man really come together. The last thing that I would like to talk about for this process is my products, audience, and distribution of the film. So again, if we go back to the research I previously conducted on all of the openings of thriller I studied, I found that when I really focused on script writing and funding, that Warner Bros., which is part of the major production companies, actually best suited my film, in my opinion. I chose Warner Bros. Because they are part of the major production company. I feel as if I would get a much bigger budget for my film compared to working with an independent film company. They do all types of products. They do home decoration. They do clothing. They do toys. And I really like that about them, so that could benefit me in the making money aspect of my film. They market their films by a lot of TV commercials, radio ads, billboards, and so on. They actually distribute their films on an application called HBO Max, which allows you to stream the movie, and in theaters as well. So I feel like it would reach a wider range of my audience that I'm trying to connect to. And the target audience I'm trying to connect to is really anybody over the age of 25, because most thriller films are rated R or M for mature. The dark coloring, the silence does not really appeal to the younger audiences. And yeah, so this wraps up my critical reflection. I would again like to recap. This process was very, very long. I did learn a lot, as you can see, compared to my first time editing. It's so messy compared to my actual final product where I knew the software like the back of my hand. I will walk out of this class with a whole different understanding of the representation within film, the process of making a film, what's conventional to each genre, and just overall a better filmmaker. My name is Aiykiera Brown, and I work with Jeremiah Oxis and Shauna Lawrenson in completing my 2-minute thriller opening. I hope you enjoyed.